Welcome back to Life Stories Network, the place where real emotions, dramatic moments, and unforgettable family twists come alive. Today, I want to share a story that shook me right to my core, one that begins in the middle of what should have been a joyful holiday but turned into something that made me question my place in my own family. So, grab a seat, because this is about how I overheard my parents planning to use me as a Thanksgiving babysitter for 10 kids, and how I decided to completely change my plan. It was a crisp November evening when I came home from school, and all I could think about was the holiday break ahead. For me, Thanksgiving was always supposed to be about warmth, family, food, and maybe even a little bit of peace. But as I dropped my backpack by the door and overheard my parents talking in the kitchen, my heart sank. They weren't talking about turkey, pie, or decorations. They were talking about me. And not in a way that felt loving. I stood there quietly, almost frozen in the hallway, as my mom said, "Well, it's perfect. She can just watch all the kids while we relax with everyone else." My dad agreed quickly, almost too quickly, like they had been planning this for weeks. He added, "Yes, she's responsible, and the cousins will keep her busy. It'll give us a break." At first, I thought maybe I was misunderstanding, but the longer I listened, the more I realized I wasn't. They weren't planning for me to enjoy the holiday, they were planning to use me. In that moment, I felt something inside me break. Imagine looking forward to a holiday thinking it would be about love and togetherness, only to realize your own parents were treating you like free labor. I was their daughter, not a babysitter, and yet here they were, casually plotting to stick me in a room with 10 wild kids while everyone else laughed, ate, and celebrated without me. I wanted to walk into that kitchen and yell, but something stopped me. Instead, I quietly stepped back, my heart pounding, trying to figure out what to do next. All night, I tossed and turned in my bed. Part of me felt angry, another part of me felt hurt, and another part of me wanted to just cry. I thought about how many times I had already helped take care of my cousins during other family events. Birthdays, weddings, barbecues, you name it. Somehow, I always ended up being the one stuck in the corner, making sure no one got hurt or spilled juice all over the floor. And every time, my parents acted like it was no big deal. But this time, this was Thanksgiving. The one holiday I had dreamed about actually being part of, not sidelined. I started imagining what the day would look like. My relatives sitting around the table, passing mashed potatoes and cranberry sauce, laughing at jokes, telling stories about old times, while I sat in the basement or the playroom surrounded by crying toddlers and screaming kids who weren't even mine. The thought made my stomach twist. Why did I always have to sacrifice? Why didn't they see that I deserved to be included too? That night, a quiet but powerful thought took root in my mind. I wasn't going to let it happen. The next morning, I woke up with determination. For once, I wasn't just going to let things slide. If my parents thought they could decide my role without even asking me, they were about to see a different side of me. But I didn't want to be impulsive. I knew if I confronted them right away, they might brush me off or guilt trip me into it. So, I decided to play it smart. I would let them believe I didn't know their plan, and then when the time came, I would change the game completely. In the days leading up to Thanksgiving, my parents kept dropping little hints. My mom said things like, "Make sure you're well rested, you'll have a busy day," and my dad chuckled, "The kids will be thrilled to have you." I forced a smile every time, pretending I had no clue. But inside, I was already crafting my own plan, one that would remind them I was their daughter, not their employee. I even tested out my strength a little by saying to my mom, "I can't wait to sit at the big table this year." She hesitated, almost guilty, before covering it up with a quick, "Of course, honey." That hesitation told me everything. They still fully expected me to give up my holiday for everyone else's comfort. But not this time. I thought long and hard about how to handle it. I didn't want to ruin the holiday for everyone, but I also didn't want to be invisible anymore. After all, Thanksgiving is about gratitude, love, and family. And how could anyone feel grateful if they were treated like they didn't matter? I promised myself that I would find a way to make them see me, hear me, and realize that I was more than just a babysitter. As the day got closer, my nerves grew. But so did my courage. I had kept my plan a secret, and soon it would be time to act. The only question was, would it finally open their eyes, or would it make everything worse? Either way, I knew one thing for sure: I wasn't going to be silent anymore. Thanksgiving morning finally arrived, and the air outside was filled with that crisp holiday chill. The smell of roasted turkey already drifted through the house as my mom bustled around the kitchen, humming happily. My dad was setting up chairs, my aunts were bringing in casseroles, and my cousins were running around the house in noisy packs. Everything looked perfect on the outside, but inside me, I carried a secret plan that no one else knew about. I smiled and greeted everyone like nothing was wrong. I hugged my relatives, helped my aunt carry a tray of pies, and even laughed when one of my cousins spilled juice on the carpet. But beneath that smile, I was waiting. I was waiting for the moment my parents would finally drop the news on me, the moment they would say, "Go watch the kids." Because when that moment came, I wasn't going to quietly obey like I always had before. By mid-afternoon, the house was loud with chatter and laughter. My uncles were watching football in the living room, my mom and her sisters were putting the final touches on dinner, and the kids, oh, the kids were everywhere. 10 of them, bouncing around like little whirlwinds, chasing each other up and down the hallway. I felt their energy pressing closer to me, as if they already knew I would be the one stuck with them soon. I kept calm, but my heart was beating fast. I knew the test was coming. Finally, as the big table was being set, my mom walked over and gave me that sweet but sly smile. "Honey," she whispered softly, "why don't you take the kids downstairs and keep them entertained until dinner's ready?" My chest tightened, but I forced my face to stay neutral. This was it, the moment I had been waiting for. I looked at her straight in the eye and said, "No, Mom. Not this time." Her smile froze. She blinked, confused, and whispered back, "What do you mean, no?" "Just for a little while, that's all." But I didn't lower my voice or back down. I said louder, so my dad and a few others nearby could hear, "I'm not going to spend Thanksgiving babysitting 10 kids. I'm family too. I deserve to sit at the table like everyone else." The room went quiet for a second, the kind of quiet that makes your skin tingle. My mom's face turned red, and my dad cleared his throat, clearly embarrassed that everyone had just heard me push back. One of my aunts looked surprised, while another aunt gave me the faintest supportive nod, as if she'd been waiting for someone to finally say what I just did. My younger cousins paused mid-game, looking at me wide-eyed. For once, all the chaos had stopped, and every eye was on me. My dad tried to recover quickly. "Honey, it's not like that. We just thought you'd enjoy spending time with the kids." But I shook my head firmly. "No, Dad. You didn't ask me. You planned it without me, and that's not fair. Every holiday, every event, I'm the one stuck in the back with the kids while you all laugh and eat together. I'm tired of being left out. I want to be part of this family too." There it was. My truth laid bare in front of everyone. My voice shook a little, but I didn't let it break. And even though my mom looked like she wanted the floor to swallow her up, I felt stronger than I had in years. This wasn't about being rebellious or disrespectful. It was about finally standing up for myself. The silence stretched on for what felt like forever. Then one of my uncles chuckled nervously and said, "Well, she's got a point." Another aunt added, "Honestly, I always wondered why she was never at the table." My mom's mouth opened and closed, like she wanted to argue, but she couldn't. Not with all those eyes on her. I felt a rush of relief and fear all at once. I had spoken up, but I didn't know what the consequences would be. Would they punish me later? Would my parents hold a grudge? Or would this finally make them see me differently? For the first time, I didn't wait around to find out. Instead of going downstairs, I pulled out a chair at the big dining table, right between two of my cousins who were already seated. I smiled at them and said, "So, what's your favorite pie?" They giggled, happy to have me there. Slowly, the noise returned, and everyone went back to what they were doing, though I could feel the tension still hanging in the air. Dinner was served, and for once, I wasn't missing. I tasted the turkey, the stuffing, the cranberry sauce. I listened to the family stories, joined in the laughter, and felt like I actually belonged. Every bite felt like victory. My mom glanced at me from across the table, still clearly annoyed, but she didn't say a word. My dad avoided eye contact, choosing instead to compliment the food. And me? I just sat a little taller, proud of myself for not letting them push me aside again. But deep down, I knew this wasn't over. I had won the battle, but the war, earning their respect, proving I wasn't just the babysitter, was far from finished. My parents would not forget this moment, and neither would I. What I didn't know was that the real test of my courage was yet to come, and the days after Thanksgiving would change everything I thought I knew about my family. The days after Thanksgiving were tense. The house wasn't filled with the same warm chatter and laughter anymore. My parents barely spoke to me unless it was necessary. My mom's face carried that silent disappointment, the kind that cut deeper than words. My dad was quieter, but I could see in his eyes he was still bothered by how I had stood up to them in front of everyone. A part of me wondered if I had gone too far, but another part of me felt a quiet pride. For once, I hadn't been invisible. For once, I had claimed my place. At school the next week, I couldn't stop replaying the moment in my head. The look on my parents' faces. The way the room had gone quiet. The supportive nod from my aunt. The quiet chuckle from my uncle. I thought about how much I had wanted this, to be seen, to be treated as more than just the babysitter. But I also worried. Had I ruined something bigger? Would my parents ever forgive me for embarrassing them? One evening, a few days later, my mom finally broke the silence. She knocked on my bedroom door and stepped inside. She didn't look angry anymore. Instead, she looked tired, almost fragile. She sat down on my bed and said softly, "You hurt me, you know. You embarrassed me in front of the whole family." My chest tightened, but before I could respond, she added, "But maybe I needed to hear it." Those words surprised me more than anything. My mom had never admitted being wrong before. She sighed and said, "I guess we just got so used to you being responsible, we forgot you're still our daughter. Not our helper. Not the babysitter. Just you." Her voice cracked slightly as she said it, and I could see the guilt in her eyes. For the first time, she saw me not as someone who would just do what she asked, but as someone with feelings, dreams, and the right to be part of the family celebration. I swallowed the lump in my throat and whispered back, "I just wanted to feel included." I didn't want to spend every holiday being left out. Tears pricked my eyes, but I didn't look away. I wanted her to see how much it meant to me. She reached for my hand and gave it a squeeze. "You're right," she said. "And I'm sorry." The next day, my dad came into my room. He wasn't as emotional as Mom, but he admitted, "I thought we were being practical." I didn't realize how unfair it was. I should have known better. That was his way of apologizing, and though it wasn't dramatic, it was enough. For him to say it at all meant he had been thinking about it too. Something changed in my family after that Thanksgiving. At the next family gathering, my parents made sure I had a seat at the table. My cousins still wanted me to play with them, but this time, I wasn't assigned to them like a job. I chose when I wanted to join them. And when I didn't, nobody forced me. The biggest change came at Christmas. That holiday, my mom actually called me into the kitchen early in the morning and said, "I want you to help me with something special." She handed me a mixing bowl and asked me to make the mashed potatoes with her. Not because she needed me to babysit or to keep me busy, but because she wanted me to be part of creating the meal, part of the tradition. For the first time, I felt like I belonged not just at the table but in the family memories too, Looking back now, I realized that standing up for myself wasn't just about one Thanksgiving. It was about breaking a pattern. It was about showing my parents that I was more than the role they had boxed me into. And yes, it was scary. Yes, it caused conflict. But it also opened a door for change. I learned something important that day. Sometimes the hardest conversations, the ones that make people uncomfortable, are the ones that bring the most growth. If I had stayed silent, nothing would have changed. I would have spent another holiday hidden away in a basement, surrounded by noise but feeling completely alone. Instead, I took a risk, and it gave me back my voice. Now, every Thanksgiving means something different to me. It's no longer a holiday that reminds me of being pushed aside. It's a reminder of the day I finally stood up for myself, the day I chose to stop being invisible. It's a reminder that even in families, where love is supposed to come first, sometimes you have to fight for your place. So, if you've ever felt like the forgotten one, the one who's always expected to sacrifice, I want you to know this: your voice matters too. Don't be afraid to speak up, even if it shakes things up. Because sometimes, the only way people will truly see you is if you make them. And as for me, that Thanksgiving taught me something I'll never forget. I wasn't just the babysitter. I was the daughter. I was family. And finally, they saw me.